How proper planning can help you to save in paying less ABSD, irregardless if you are a Singapore citizen, PR, or foreigner. This episode is right for you. If you understand how much ABSD rates you're going to pay, then you can forward the timestamp section to the part that I will explain about the best ways to avoid paying ABSD. So, are you ready to hear it? Let's dive in. With the recent cooling measures that was implemented, there was an increased ABSD with properties purchased on or after 16 of December 2021. For Singapore citizens, there is no need to pay any ABSD on their first property, but it will be a 17% ABSD on their second property and 25% on their third or subsequent property purchase. For Singapore permanent residents, they need to pay 5% ABSD on their first property, 25% on their second property, and 30% on the third and subsequent purchase. For foreigners, they will need to pay 30% ABSD on all property purchases. Lastly, entities such as corporate companies will have to fork out 35% ABSD on all property purchases. So, how should we minimize the ABSD costs that we need to pay in buying property legally? You can kickstart with these 3 supreme methods. Number 1, buying a property under single ownership so that the spouse can buy another property under their own name. Although this topic is common, it is really simple, direct, and 100% guarantee works. Example, husband and wife each purchase a property under their own name. So legally, they can have 2 properties without paying ABSD. Short and simple, right? In the case of a HDB or executive condominium, you can choose to list your spouse as an occupier instead of a co-owner. Once you fulfill the 5 years MOP, the occupier is able to purchase a property. However, in the eyes of the law, only the listed owner has the legal obligation to pay the monthly mortgage. So therefore, you would have to plan ahead on the repayment, the financial obligation, and the monthly bills for each party. For this to work, please bear in mind, number 1, only ordinary CPF account funds of the listed owner can be used. 2, the sole owner must meet the income requirements to qualify for the home loan. 3, for brand new executive condominiums and HDB flat, the mortgage servicing ratio for the loan repayment cannot exceed 30% of the sole borrower gross monthly income. 4, for private properties and resale executive condominiums, the loan plus all the existing debt obligation cannot exceed 55% of the sole borrower's gross monthly income, or what we call it as the total debt servicing ratio. Lastly, if both spouses are having a similar income, we will usually advise the younger spouse to hold the higher value, which will help when it comes to refinancing options such as like property gearing after the 2 years of the purchase. 2, if you have already owned a property under the joint ownership or tenancy in common, you can buy over your spouse share and free up your name from the title deed, which is also known as decoupling. Decoupling sounds like a big word, but simply it is the removal of one owner from the property and through the buyout of the other party. Simply, it means one co-owner buys or sells their share of ownership to another co-owner. So in legal terms, only one owner in one title deed. Only in this way, they will be counted as first-time home buyer. Do take note that decoupling is not applicable to HDB owners with effect from 4th of May 2016, unless if you are having a special case to appeal to HDB subject to their approval. I would suggest to work out the sums carefully for decoupling method. It may not be suitable for all couples and it comes with some risk factor involved. Decoupling will definitely incur higher legal costs due to the complexity. Couples can also buy a condo under tenants in common. This method allows you to split their ownership of the property so that both incomes can be used to support the home loan application. However, the prerequisite is you must have sufficient cash or CPF to return to the exiting party's CPF used plus accrued interest. So unless you have obtained a written reply by CPF that allows a full waiver of this refund. Remember also, you must have sufficient income to take over the full loan single-handedly. 3. Buying under a property trust for your children below 21 years old. Buying under trust is just like buying a legacy for your descendants. Some call this method for the cash rich, as no housing loan or CPF usage is allowed. You can set up a property trust for your child below 21 years old and buy a property under it with you as the trustee. So legally speaking, the property you buy is not yours. It belongs to the beneficiary, which is your child. So this means that you are not the legal owner of this property. It does not add to your property count. Also means that if you were to buy a second home with this method, you wouldn't be subject to any ABSD. But you will need to be prepared to part away the money as for future planning for your child and any actions you act for such of the interest of your child and not for your own benefit. A trustee takes legal ownership of the asset held by a trust and it assumes fiduciary responsibility for managing those assets and carrying out for the purpose of the trust. The trustee should make a habit of keeping all the receipts and records of the payments that they make. A trustee should know that all the income coming from the property, whether be it a rental or sales, profit of the sales, or the property of the beneficiary, you have to bear in mind that the final accounts belongs to the child, not you. You might wonder, when does the trust end? The trust ends when the child is of the legal age, in this case 21 years old. So once the trust ends, the child is now the complete owner of the property, including all of the taxes and mortgages. So of course, once they reach the legal age, the child has the full right to the property and make decisions on their own. They do not need to seek any approval and is a full ownership. The real owner of the property is actually the beneficiary and not the trustee. So using trust method, you can buy property for anyone as young as a toddler or right after the baby is born at birth. Another advantage of a trust is that since the courts regard the child as the beneficiary, so if the parent or the trustee should become bankrupt many years after the trust is created, the child's ownership is safe from the parent's creditors. The parents will not be able to act as trustee, but some other relative can take step out of it. So, which method works best for you? There isn't a single best method. It really depends on your financial situation and your risk appetite in life. There are advanced structuring strategies that consist of layering methods in different order to help investors to own more properties, obtain a higher financing, and save on tax and expenses. However, it is more in-depth analysis and we would need to have a customized plans for different needs that we may not be able to explain through this video. If you do need advice on such matters, feel free to contact us right now to get a free consultation call. Only the first 15 sellers are going to get that through the social media link below. Make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss out any of my next video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.